What is up, sports geeks? It's your host, Josh, here back with another college basketball episode, joined by Nick, as always. Nick, we were talking about last week. Week one was great. We wonder if week two is going to be even better. And it was, I think. It was spectacular. From Tuesday with the Champions Classic, we have Michigan State, Kansas kicking it off. And then we have, although my Spartans did go down, then we have the Kentucky Duke game, which was your game of the week. And it absolutely was. Absolutely spectacular game. The Friday slate did not disappoint either. Wisconsin, who was my picked upset, did get the upset. And then we had, just spectacular games. The Bama-Purdue game, which was my game of the week, was a spectacular game there as well. All week we had great weeks or great games. But we're back here with more team of the weeks, player of the weeks, anti-team of the weeks too. Hopefully your team is not being featured there. But a lot of rambling here from me. Let's hear your team of the week and get me off the mic here.
Yeah, so no, it was. Week one was amazing. Week two lived up to the hype. It was just as good. I mean, if I had to be honest with everybody here, there was probably only one day throughout the whole week where the games weren't good, and that was Thursday, like we brought up. The
Yeah.
Thursday slate was pretty slow. There wasn't really much going on there at all, but nonetheless, I know there were some sickos out there that still enjoyed those mid-major and blowouts that were on. So I mean, but yeah, it was a great week. We saw a ton of great games. Every game lived up to the hype. All the games that we picked, they came down to the wire or were fantastic games in general. So, but yeah, hopping right into my team of the week, I think it has to be Purdue. I'm going with Purdue because they may have struggled. Some people thought they were going to struggle out of the gate, which I mean, I guess they kind of did in their first couple games. They ended up winning by double digits, but you could see that there was definitely a difference in how they played, and you could see that they were still trying to run their offense through their big man in Jacobson, who is now out for the year, like they did Zach Edey, and it wasn't working. In the second half of both of the first two games, you could see that they had to rely on Fletcher Lawyer and Braden Smith to start to score, and you could tell that they were both a little tentative in doing it. It wasn't really something they wanted to do. They're more or less ready to, come off the dribble, maybe put a shot up, but more or less looking to pass the ball down low. And you look on Friday, they, for the most part, handled Bama. And I don't think most people really saw this happening. At least I didn't see it happen. I had to pick. I was going to pick Bama to win this game. I just thought Bama was way too quick. They're way too talented. We're going to shoot better from the 3-point line. And in all honesty, that's kind of what hurt Bama. Bama shot 9 of 29, 31%. I mean, that's just not going to get the job done. When you go look at what Purdue did, they only shot 16 threes, but they made 9 of them. They shot 56%, and they shot 50% from the field.
Yeah. No,
You look at this, and I mean, three starters for Purdue scored. 2 of them didn't score. But Trey Kaufman-Renn was fantastic on Friday night. Fantastic. I don't think most people didn't see this coming from him. He played 30 minutes, shot 12 of 23, so a little over 50%. He made 1 3-pointer. His only problem for him was he went 1 of 4 from the 3 free throw line. I mean, he had 26, 8, and 4. And, that's exactly what you're looking for, especially considering your 5-star big man's out for the year. You need somebody to hop in, really take over the points and the rebounds that he was going to have. And we did just that. And then you look, and Braden Smith puts up another double-double. And, I mean, it's hard for me this early in the year not to praise Purdue for that, because a lot of people, like we said, were worried if, who was going to step up and start to score. And is Braden Smith willing and ready to not only put up 10 assists, but have at least 15-plus points, and he did just that.
No, I'm right there with you. I think Purdue had a great week, and it was a big question mark, right? This Bama team we knew was plenty talented. It's a good chunk of what they had last year when they made a deep tournament run. So I absolutely am with you. This was a huge showing from Purdue. I think Lawyer and Smith, they from their freshman year when they lose to FDU, right? That leaves a sour taste in everybody's mouth, and can leave you opinionated about the two of them. They have progressed a ton, whether you like it or not. And Smith is not a guy that's going to go put up. He's not going to go win, a player of the year because he's putting up 22 points a game. It's not going to happen.
Yep.
But he can put up 13 to 15, maybe in that 12 range, and average 9 or 10 assists. And that's exactly what he's doing. Lawyers picked it up. He's actually able to get inside the 3-point line and think about shooting now. which is something he would have never even thought about doing 2 years ago. And I overall just think that this team has a lot of good pieces. Like you said, Coffin Reen had a great game, and he's somebody that's taken a huge jump. I think this Purdue team, I mean, we know they're good, well coached, right? We know they're well coached. They always are. Matt Painter's a great coach. But do you have that ability to go win big games? And they just showed they did. So see if they can win big games. I will say, to defend Bama real quick, they missed a ton of wide open threes, which I don't think they will do consistently. I think this is a shooting slump that pretty much not. I don't want to say every team, because the team that I have for my team of the week did not see this. Most teams have a shooting slump at the beginning of the season because you've been shooting on the gun, you've been shooting, in practice, where the guy's not going to foul you. He's not going to land underneath you. There's nobody in the stadium. And it's just a little bit of an adjustment every year. I think Bama, we saw it last year where they'd drop a couple games and then they'd come back and they had a great run. I think they'll get past that. But for now, they're going to struggle if they're not hitting threes. And Purdue looked spectacular. So I like them as a team of the week. For my team of the week, I'm going to go Kentucky. I think it has to be. I wanted to go Wisconsin, but they were my upset pick. It was, I was a little bit biased there. Wanted to go Wisconsin, but I'm going to go Kentucky because I think to go beat Duke with the star-studded talent that Duke has under a new head coach with Kentucky, without a single returning player, not even starter player, and you go into Atlanta and you win against Duke. I just think this is spectacular for Mark Pope and the boys here. And the difficulty here, you talk about the high level defense at the end of the game. I know your Twitter, which by the way, or X, whatever it's called now, I'll link that back in the description below, is great if you're looking for constant updates in college basketball. Nick's your guy. But you tweeted out about Cooper Flag. Rough end of the game for Cooper Flag, but spectacular end to the game if you're Kentucky's defense. The way that they clamped up late in the game, it was really, really impressive. So, I mean, Jackson Robinson actually played terrible too, which is
Yeah.
crazy. The only guy that had played under Mark Pope before, and he comes in
Yep.
and plays terrible. But I mean, overall, I just think this team is good. They shot 40% from three, and I don't even think they're scratching the surface with what they can shoot. And I mean, Flag dropped 26 on nearly 50% from shooting. Con Kneppel had a really bad game. They clamped him up. But overall, I think Kentucky, I have to put them as a team of the week because the way with how much hype is around this Duke team, with how talented this Duke team is, and with what this Duke team has done to everybody not named Kentucky, to go beat them without a single returning player from last year under a new head coach is the exact emphasize of a win that Mark Pope needed to acclimate himself to Big Blue Nation there.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, a lot of people didn't give Kentucky a chance in this game. They thought, well, maybe it'll stay within 10. But Duke's got way too much firepower. I don't care if they're all a bunch of freshmen and a few returners. This this Duke team is going to have, and well, that was just simply not the case.
Yep.
You look at it, and I was telling some of my friends this weekend, and we were just talking about the game and some of the games this week, and you saw it like once the transfer portal really turned into what people were going to get their players from. Look at all of these different teams who are veteran heavy. They win these games. These veteran heavy teams can know how to control the game down the stretch, keep themselves in it, and then when it gets to crunch time in the last 2-3 minutes, they go and win the game. And we saw it again here on Tuesday night.
Yeah.
John Shire decided it was going to be a good idea to put the ball in a freshman, 17 years old, by the way, 17. His hands the last three possessions, and see how it happened. It ended poorly for him. I thought that yes, Kentucky is definitely a team of the week. They deserve it. They played so well. They just towards the end of the game, you could just see they just started doing whatever they wanted. They were getting the timely bucket. They were getting the defensive stop. But I have to put a little bit of the blame on John Shire. You got to have better. You just got to have better play calling at the end. The whole second half, you're up 9 coming out of half, and you decide that you just aren't going to step down. You have your foot on your throat, and they're not. He started playing cold. He was scared. He was taking 20, 25 seconds off the shot clock each time. He wasn't letting them shoot. He wasn't letting them run a legit offense, and you could slowly just see Kentucky gaining momentum, not afraid to take that, they contested three and hit it home. They weren't afraid to play inside out because they just knew that they had more talent from, let's just say, 1 to 9 of their roster than Duke does when Duke has 1 to 7. And I tip my cap to Mark Pope because I saw on Twitter today they posted in the huddle. It was the first turnover that Cooper Flag had, where they said he's going to go ISO, and Mark Pope says if he goes ISO, when he goes to do his spin move like he always does at the free throw line, somebody's got to crash in, two hands rip the ball away. Surely that's exactly what happens. It leads to a steal, and look where we are now. I mean, it was insane. I couldn't give more credit to Mark Pope and that team. Now top 10 in the country. You got that win early on that you didn't think you were going to get. I think that you might be able to take away the dark horse in front of their Final Four contender because I think they are that good, and
Yeah.
they have that much veteran leadership that it's going to be hard not to see a team like that if they stay together go that deep in the tournament.
Yeah. No, and I completely agree with you. And yeah, we always talk about it every year come tournament time is veteran play is what gets you deep into the tournament 99.9% of the time. And this Kentucky team is so veteran heavy with a great head coach who's trying to really assert himself as the new big name on campus, right? You have huge shoes to fill. If you go make the Final Four in the first year, you're filling those I'm not going to say you're filling those shoes, right, Coach? I mean, Coach Cal's a spectacular
You're off
coach,
to a good start.
but yeah, you are off to a good start. I'm gonna head to my anti team of the week here. And I went with Kentucky. I'm gonna go back to the Big Ten here, the new Big Ten, if you will, and I'm gonna go to USC. USC yesterday on Sunday, so maybe you want to call it this week. We're gonna call it last week. On Sunday, they lose to Cal. They just look terrible. Cal is not a good basketball team. Cal is not even remotely going to compete for a tournament spot this year. And you're telling me that USC, you're going into the Big Ten. Reminder, you are going into the Big Ten. This is not the Pac 12 anymore. You have your easy games are against like Maryland in Rutgers, not anymore Rutgers, but like your easier games are against teams better than Cal. So those are games you have to win. And don't even get me started about talking about the midweek game when they play University of Texas Arlington and win by 3 points. They gave up 95 points to the
Yep.
University of Texas Arlington. If you give up 95 points to them, you are in for a beating against when you play Big Ten teams who will be efficient on offense. They'll put up 70 or 75, but you're going to put up 50 because I am not impressed by this USC team at all. I wasn't impressed. I wasn't expecting much from them, I should say that this season, but this start to the year has been not even remotely convincing at all. You beat Chattanooga by 26. Congrats. You beat Idaho State by 6. Really? A 2-possession game against Idaho State? A 1-possession game against the University of Texas Arlington, and then you lose to California? That's a bad start.
Yeah, it's a problem. It's a big time problem, and obviously Musselman's walking into a program that had nothing. I mean, nobody came back. There was nothing there. But at the same time, you expect a lot more out of a head coach like Eric Musselman. You expect
Mhm.
him to be able to bring in a crew of guys, that care and want to fight for him. And he brought in all these guys, all these different mid-major to low mid-major transfers that they don't usually translate to that next level. Sometimes they don't. I mean, I hate to bring it up because I hate to throw the ricochet shot, but last year Timberlake for Kansas, he averaged like 25 a game for Towson. He was just absolutely tearing up that conference. You bring him in and he's awful.
Mhm.
Sometimes they don't translate, and I think that Musselman could have done a better job of trying to go get some power 5, power 6 type players and convince them to go out to Southern California and have an insane NIL fund because they do. They have a great NIL fund out there. I mean, the players that they've been able to get so far, I mean, it's crazy. They just don't have the coaching to put them together. I mean, last year you look what they had. They had Bronny James, had Isaiah Collier, and they had Arrington Page. Those are 3 top 50 players last year,
Mhm.
and they're just gone. And then he comes in and he can't keep one of his best defenders to stay in at USC, and now he's playing for Mick Cronin. I don't know. I think there's something with it. I know Musselman is from out in the California area. So obviously, it's a job he wants to take. It's close to home, but there's a real issue with that. I don't know if that might be his coaching or the fact that he hasn't had his guys yet. But like you said, they have 3 wins and a loss that are all within 5 points, and those teams are just not good. Cal's going to be the bottom feeder of the ACC. And, you played
Or,
Idaho State. I mean, it's bad. It's not good.
or of the Big Ten, you mean?
Cal is in the Big Ten.
Or you said Cal. I was thinking you said USC. No, yeah. No, Cal is going to be, yes. Yeah, USC is going to be the bottom feeder of the Big Ten. I mean,
Bad.
you look at you look at you have Oregon on December 4th but in Washington. And those are both teams that you're familiar with, right? And then you in January, listen to this and tell me if you think they're going to win any of these games. Home against Michigan, at Indiana, at Illinois, home against Iowa, home against Wisconsin, at Nebraska, home against UCLA. I'm thinking if you do well, you have 2 wins there.
I could see at Nebraska.
And then home against UCLA, which again, I mean, UCLA, I think probably still beats them in a
By that
rivalry
time, I
game
feel
there.
like Mick Cronin has his team going to where they probably still lose that one too.
Yeah. So 1, if you do well, 2 wins there. I mean, that's terrible. But all right, enough about USC. We're on the same page there. They're bad. Over to you for your anti-team of the week. I think you're staying in the Big Ten here too.
I am. Yeah, I'm staying in the Big Ten, and it's funny because this is a team we talked about last week of how they looked so great in Week 1 against Texas. Went and played them in a neutral site in Vegas and really dominated. But here we go. They get to go to play Buzz Williams and the SEC at Texas A&M, and they get whooped. I mean, the game really wasn't close. It was mostly a double-digit game the whole game. Just a lot of Ohio State pieces that from the first week and a half who were consistently dominating didn't do much. I mean, Parrish only had 10 points in 30 minutes of play. He had four fouls, 4 turnovers. Bruce Thornton put up the usual 15, but for him, that's almost a bit low because he's been absolutely tearing it up so far. He only puts up 15. And then you look at the guy like Mobley Jr. off the bench, who in their first game against Texas hit like 4 or 5 threes, and he had 13, but he didn't do much. They only had him play 18 minutes. So you look at it and you're like, well, where did it go wrong? Why is Ohio State? Why did they lose this game by 14? Well, their defense was really poor. They didn't play good defense, and then they relied way too heavy on the 3, and it wasn't going in. They shot 8 of 30 from deep, and I don't mind that strategy by Jake Diebler at all. I personally like it. I like to root for a team that will get out and run and has the option of either crashing the glass to get a layup or drawing a foul, but can also kick it out for a 3. But going 8 of 30, there's got to be a point in the game when Diebler's like, all right, we got to start facilitating, doing something else. It's not working. It's just not working.
Yeah, my issue with this is that if you're gonna shoot a ton of threes, okay, right? You better be damn good at it. And a team like Bama, who we were just talking about, right, did something similar. But we know they can do that. We know Nate Oates will get his guys shooting the ball well. We know it. Diebler, if you're going to come out and shoot 33s, we don't know you can. Ohio State has never been we're going to light you up for 15 threes in a game.
Exactly.
Team. They never have been. So if that's the philosophy you're going to implement, then you better be able to implement it. Like I go back to this Texas game and you were 14 of 28 from 3. Okay.
Ungodly, insanely shooting. And then
that's spectacular. Now I think the next stretch of games for Ohio State here is really, really easy. They go Evansville, Campbell, Wisconsin, Green Bay. Those are easy. Then you play home against Pitt. It's a semi-difficult game. You have Maryland, Rutgers, Auburn then. And then you have Kentucky in December as well. I think that stretch of game is going to be really crucial for this Ohio State team because is this your identity? Is that we're going to shoot 30 plus threes in a game and hope that we hit 15 of them? Because if it is, then we're going to need to see something from them. I also think that if this is your strategy, then why are you not playing Mobley 25, 30 minutes a game?
Exactly.
Because he is the player that fits your system. So let him play, let him cook, let him play on your offense, let him facilitate, let him take your shots, give him grenades, let him shoot your grenade shots, right? Because he's good at shooting those. And I don't agree with him. Like you said, 13 points in 18 minutes is very great, but why are you only playing
Extremely
18 minutes in a game where you're really struggling? So,
exactly.
I
Extremely efficient, but
yeah,
he didn't have the minutes to back it up.
yeah,
And it's
no.
just it just blew my mind to see that they shot 8 of 30 from deep, 26%, and then they shot 20 of 59 from the field in total. So I mean, they only made 12 more two-point shots than three-pointers.
Yeah,
It blows my mind because even Nate Oates in Alabama doesn't do that.
mm,
I mean, that just shows me that even when Ohio State was getting out and trying to run, it was okay. We're instantly just pulling up for the three. We're not even looking down low for a layup. So
well, I mean, Ohio State goes 8 of 30, right? And Bama goes 9 of 29. Very comparable. Bama
yep,
puts up 14 more points than Ohio State against Purdue, who I would say Purdue's defense is probably better than A&M's, but we'll say they're the same level just to keep it consistent here.
yeah,
That's I think where it separates is that without the three ball, they can put up 78, 80 points.
yep,
With the three ball, they can hang 110 on you.
hmm
Ohio State, without the three ball, you can't be hanging 60, 65 and expect to win games against good teams. You can't do
yep.
it.
It's
So,
not going to work.
and if you are, you better be playing defense like Iowa's football team, right? I mean,
Exactly,
you better
exactly.
be playing like Jay Wright
Yeah,
type of defense, right? Or I mean,
you
a
got to be
Tony
hoping to
Bennett
give up
type of defense.
55.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you have to be playing. You have to be forcing a lot of turnovers. You have to be out rebounding them every game, and that's just not the Ohio State we saw on the defensive side of the floor. Which is fine. You can win without that, but you can't win with shooting terrible from three and this bad defense. You can't put those together and expect to win. So, crucial stretch of games here coming up for Ohio State. Either way, though.
Yeah,
But we'll head over to player of the weeks here though, because the player of the week here, I'm talked about. I wanted to make Wisconsin my team of the week, but I didn't because I had them as I had a player of the week here from them anyways. They were my upset watch. I feel like I'm getting too Wisconsin heavy if I do that. But I'm going John Tonje. John Tonje, transfer out of Colorado State. You knew he was going to come in and have a good role here, right? You knew he was going to come in and have a good role with Wisconsin. This Wisconsin team over with Greg Gard has always been able to put up points. And that's exactly what I kind of said last week is Arizona's going to come in fast paced. Wisconsin can shoot the ball well enough. They can hang 100 and they just did, right? They
yep,
can light you up from three. And John Tonje I mean, he was 4 of 6 from three, really efficient, but it's not like he absolutely torched you for 7 or 8 threes. What he
yep,
torched you is at the line for
hmm
21 of 22 from the free throw line. And
yep,
if you watch his Colorado State film, that's exactly how he was there too. He was really, really good. He gets in the paint. He uses shot fakes. He's got a wider base, right? He's got wide shoulders, and you think you can block his shot, but you can't. You're just going to foul him. And he is so good at getting to the line. 22 free throws attempted by John Tonje. And I mean, it's spectacular. They were 41 of 47 from the line.
yeah.
Wisconsin was.
That's solid.
The refs were definitely they weren't going to choke on their whistle, that's for sure.
No, no,
But I mean they shot 47. I think Arizona shot 40. So I mean it's not like it was really one sided. But John Tonje, his ability to get into the paint, with how physical Big Ten play is, I think this is going to be really crucial because when you come up in a game against whoever it may be, right? I don't care. Throw the team out there, Rutgers. Okay, well when Ace Bailey's on him and Ace Bailey has 3 fouls at halftime because John Tonje is so good at using a shot fake and getting him in the air, that's something again, this veteran presence that we see. John Tonje is a good veteran, played several years at Colorado State. Now he's here with Wisconsin. I like him a lot. And you're putting up 31 points in a big upset win against Arizona. It's hard for me to not pick him as my player of the week here.
yeah, no, I think that's a great pick. I'm going to be completely honest with you. This is a guy that did not know much about. Um, I obviously watched him a few times last year at Colorado State, but I wasn't really locked in on him much. But you couldn't have said it any better. The Big Ten, it's physical. It's just like it is for their football conference. It's physical. It's extremely physical. It's hard nosed basketball. And if you have the talent and the ability to be able to, you know, drive to the rim, be able to put up a shot fake and get somebody in the air and still be able to go up with it and draw the foul. I mean, that you are Big Ten basketball. That is
Mhm.
literally the definition of what you need to be able to do. And he did it perfectly. And not only did he get to the line, he made them. I mean, 21 to 22 is impressive by anybody. Most
Yeah.
teams would be happy, like most teams would be happy to make 21 free throws. He did it by himself, and he did it in great fashion, like with a raucous crowd that we talked about. Like, no, it's very, very impressive what he did, and I feel like if Wisconsin wants to get into that top 5 of the Big Ten and really push for, possibly even a title within the Big Ten, you're going to need to have that type of play, and I think he fits it perfectly. It
Yeah.
is a great get by Greg Gard out of the portal, and that's one of those gets from that mid major where you're like, you know what, he fits what we like to do and where we're playing in our conference. And it couldn't have worked out any better against a top 10 team in Arizona.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say too, I said 31 points. He had 41, not 31.
41.
So I said 31. No, he had 41. I got my numbers mixed up there. Yeah, so he put up 41 against Arizona. And I think Arizona's going to struggle because you shot 40 free throws, they shot 47, right? Wisconsin shot 47. Arizona fouled so much, so much. And it was
Yeah.
like it's not like hey, we're trying to get a strip here, and he ended up going up for a shot, or like, oh, I got him on the arm when he was going up or something, or oh, my body barely moved into him. It was like, no, we're just undisciplined fouling the crap out of teams because we're falling for every single pump fake, and we're in the air. Now they're going to jump into us and get a free. Okay, you can do that once. You can't do that 10, 12 times as a team in a game, and that's what they did. So really undisciplined from Arizona here. They'll be able to run all over a lot of teams, but if you're playing physical ball like Wisconsin was playing, they might struggle come tournament time. But it'll be interesting to see. But that's my player of the week. I got a feeling I'm not going to like your player of the week.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have to do it. It's too easy not like I have to pick him, and I'm picking Hunter Dickinson. Yes, they played 2 games this week. First one, the Champions Classic, was fantastic. The one on Saturday against Oakland wasn't, but he didn't have to play a lot. I mean, he barely played over 20 minutes. They had no need for him in the game. They won by 21. And he almost put up a double double at 10 and 9. But I'm mostly focusing on that Michigan State game. And I mean, he was fantastic. If you watch the game, he was the only person who scored in the first 8 minutes of the game. He had
Mm-hmm.
their first 10 points, and the rest of the field. I think the rest of the team was shooting like 0 of 13. I mean, he dominated the beginning of the game, and he dominated this game last year when they played Kentucky. And he finished with 28, 12, and 3, and 3 being steals, not assists, 3 steals as a 7'2" big man who doesn't move very well at all. If I had to talk about it, the only thing that he didn't do well was defense. But that's expected. You expect him not to be able to do great on the defensive end, and that's where you need guys like KJ Adams to be able to crash the board and help him in that high ball screen. But I mean, if Hunter Dickinson is not on this Kentucky or on this Kansas roster, they don't win this game.
Mm-mm.
They don't win this game. Michigan
Not even
State
close. Michigan State probably
Michigan
wins by
State
double digits.
Michigan State did their best to control everybody. And usually that works. If you're going to let one guy, you know, do most of the heavy lifting, and if especially if he's a center, you usually walk away with a win. But somehow, some way, I mean, Hunter Dickinson put him on his back. He finished with 28 points, and this is back-to-back years that he has absolutely owned the Champions Classic. So I feel like he has to be my player of the week just because the sole fact that he literally led them to a win with Michigan State. Because if he didn't play, there's a very high chance that Kansas goes that under 12 timeout in the first half, and they could have been down like 15-3 because nobody else could
Mhm.
score.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think
No.
he has to be my player of the week, and if he continuously puts up the numbers he has, like right now he's averaging 19 and 9. He's going to be an All American again. He's going to be the Big 12 Player of the Year.
Yep. No, I'm right there with you. Unfortunately, I am not a big Hunter Dickinson fan. From his time at Michigan, I didn't like him. He always tore us up, and
Yeah.
he's not one to tear you up with his mouth closed. He talks plenty.
Oh yeah.
Um, and so that was always frustrating. I'm watching this dude, put up 25 and 15 on us, and he's talking smack after every bucket. So I'm not a big fan of him, but I knew it was coming here that he was going to be a player of the week because he did torch us. I mean, we were 3 of 24 from 3, and that's generous because we really we hit 2 of them like not in the final minute in garbage time. So really we were like 1 of 20 from 3. That's how you lose games like that when you shut everybody down other than Dickinson. But Dickinson tore us up. I mean, from the beginning of the game, he was unguardable. I mean, he facilitated well, got it back plenty. Rebounds obviously so well and is so good in the post. So no, I like Dickinson as a player of the week. I think he deserved it as much as I probably am not a fan of that. But I'm gonna go to my game of the week and upset watch here. Or I'll tell you what, let's have you go with your game of the week and upset watch here. Go ahead and pair them together.
Okay. So for my game of the week, I wanted to dig a little bit deep into this, and just because I haven't really looked at much into the slate for this coming week because I've been pretty busy. But this game stood out to me a lot because I think it's a team that got, I wouldn't say they're overrated at the beginning of the year, but we're a top three team in Alabama versus a team that was actually, I think, underrated. I
Mhm.
think Brad Underwood's a great coach. I think Illinois not being ranked to start the year, but you have a team like UCLA in the ranking is extremely disrespectful for a team like this. Yeah, so I'm going with my game of the week being Illinois versus Bama. Illinois gets to go down to Bama, and I think this could be a very high scoring, very get out and run type of game, and probably see who gets to 81st is probably going to win this basketball game. And these are the type of games like I told you. These are the type of games we live for. I mean,
Mhm.
there's nobody who's scheduled early in the year better than Bama has. Bama every other game they're playing either a top 25 team or a mid major who's picked to win their conference. It's insane, and I love it. I think that's how it needs to be. If you're a top 5 team, you shouldn't be scared to schedule out of conference
Correct.
because if you know your team is good enough, why not get the early season pressure from these teams? It doesn't make sense for a team like Bama not to go out and schedule like this. So I think that's my game of the week because you're really going to see it's going to be, especially with Bama coming off of a loss to Purdue and Illinois cracking the top 25. I think this could be a game that most people look at like this could definitely be like a Sweet 16 type matchup come March.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm right there with you. Yeah, absolutely. I'm right there with you. So, who's your upset watch though?
All right, so I think this legitimately could happen down in the Bahamas. I'm going to take Rick Pitino and St. John's to beat Baylor in the Bahamar Hoops Championship. I think this is legitimately could happen. Rick Pitino finally got all his guys in. He got a great guard, a possible All American, and Big East Player of the Year if he starts to pick it up and play like he did last year at Seton Hall in Kadari Richmond. And you watched him play against his son Richard on Sunday, and they bullied him. They bullied him the whole game. I mean, it was close a little bit in the first half, but it got to the point where the St. John's faithful started chanting, "Who's your daddy?" So Richard Pitino on the coach, and the coaching staff. So this team is they're really athletic. They play inside out, and it's not like a bunch of big name guys on the St. John's roster. It really isn't outside of Richmond. It's a bunch of guys. They're glue guys. They play good. They move well without the ball. They're extremely athletic, and I think you're looking at a Baylor team that yes, they're starting to find their groove a little bit, but we all saw what happened to them against Gonzaga on a neutral floor. Well, it wasn't Spokane. Either way, you got bullied. You come back and you beat an Arkansas team who I think is extremely overrated. It's just like another one of the Cal teams of the past at Kentucky, but with less talent. Um, and then Baylor's beaten a few really, really bad teams that they paid probably $1 million plus to come play. I mean, they put up 100 on, I think it was Tarleton yesterday. It's just, I don't know. I just feel like St. John's, this is a spot where, they get themselves inside the top 20 of the rankings, and people are like, all right, this St. John's team isn't only ranked because their head coach is Rick Pitino and they play in the Big East. They're ranked because they're a legitimate top 20, top 25 team. And I think Baylor hasn't completely got their feet under them yet.
Yeah, no, yeah, no. I mean, I don't mind it because it actually lines up well with my upset watch. I think pretty well. So my game of the week is Duke Zona, and I think this is going to be an absolutely spectacular game. We have another Friday night game. This is a late night game out in Arizona. And I mean, Duke, you bounce back. You got to bounce back from Kentucky. I mean, they bounced back on Saturday and absolutely, I don't know who they play. They blew somebody out of the water. Wofford. They played Wofford.
Yeah, Wofford,
Yeah,
it was bad. They were up like 50, like
yeah,
the,
they
the
were.
whole second half.
Yeah, that was crazy. So I think they bounce back against Wofford, but you need to bounce back against somebody good. Same thing as Arizona. You just lost to
Yeah.
Wisconsin. Both teams need to win this game. Somebody is going to lose this game and have a
Somebody's
really
getting
rough
2.
start to the season. And this is just shaping up to be a matchup that's is just so fun to watch. Both teams need this win, right? It's not conference game, but it's massive for your resume when you're trying to get that 1 or 2 seed, right? Like both of these
Yep.
teams are probably going to be competing for, and you're probably going to be competing against the other team, the other one here, right? So
Yeah.
if it's Duke is the 4 and Arizona is the 5 overall seed, or vice versa, Arizona is the 4 and Duke is the 5, Duke might jump them if they win this
Yep.
game.
Coming
So
down to this.
yeah, this is a massive game for both of them, and I think this is just the preseason. This is the early season battle, the pre-conference play battle that you just love to see. So late night Friday, it's going to be a late one, starting at 10:30 here in the East Coast. But I'm going to be up for it, and I'm sure you will be too, because this is going to be a heck of a game. Then going over to the upset watch real quick, I'm going to pair these together. My upset watch is on Sunday. Let's call it next week if you want. I don't care. It's before the next episode's coming out. My upset's on Sunday. You said St. John's over Baylor. I like it. I think St. John's can beat Baylor. Once they do, I think it's going to be a letdown spot when they go in and play Georgia in the Bahamas. And I think Georgia gets them
I
because
like that. I like that a lot.
This Georgia team is 4-0, and I think that you have some traction here, right? You beat North Florida, who was our team of the week last week, and Georgia is a good. I mean, North Florida is a good team. We talked about them
Yep.
last week. They're a good basketball team. The
You'll see them
Ospreys.
come. You'll see them come March.
Yeah, you will. And so you beat a tournament team in North Florida, and you hang 90 on them, and then you go play Georgia Tech and you shoot 14% from three, and you turn the ball over more than Georgia Tech does, and you win the game.
Yep.
Georgia Tech's not a bad basketball team. They're not good. Don't get me wrong.
They're good on
They're
the
not a bad
defensive end.
basketball
They're
team.
good on the defensive end. I'll give them that.
Yes, yeah. But they're a team that's good enough that if you're going to shoot 14% from three and lose the turnover battle, you should lose.
Yep.
And they win that game. Now, this is where it makes me think, though. You're playing in the Bahamas. It's not like it's going to be an intense atmosphere where you're playing at St. John's. It's not an intense atmosphere. It's very loose. You've already played a game about in the Bahamas at that point. And I think this is where you really can have Georgia could light it up from three. And if they light it up from three, I mean, they shot 40% against North Florida. So if you shoot 30 to 40% against the St. John's team in a letdown spot,
Yeah.
man, I also think they're undefeated right now. St. John's goes and beats Baylor. You beat St. John's on Sunday, and you're ranked
Yeah. Yeah.
for
You're
Georgia.
staring at a ranking come Monday.
So I mean, I think this is a perfect, like, now I don't want to say revenge spot, but really just like they have their eyes on the prize right here. They are looking at a football school being ranked in basketball for the first time since Anthony Edwards,
Yeah.
and I think this is a great opportunity for them on Sunday. And it would be pretty cool if we had the absolutely ideal you know narrative, right? St. John's upsets Baylor, letdown spot against Georgia.
Yeah. And they
I
get
think it would
upset.
work out fun.
Is that played in a ballroom? Do we
I
know?
don't know.
I was wondering that because I feel like it is, and if it is, then I would probably favor Georgia even more. To be honest with you, because
Yeah.
just those tournaments in those ballrooms, it's just they're weird. They're weird, and that's usually when you get upsets like that. But
Yeah.
no, I really like that. And then just to circle back really quickly on their game of the week being Duke Arizona, I think you couldn't have picked a better game. I mean, the game last year was fantastic. Caleb Love going back into Cameron Indoor, but this time instead of being in Carolina Gear, he's in Arizona and he beats them and he has a great game. I think that game is literally once again going to come down to how he plays, because I mean they get whooped by Wisconsin and he was terrible. He was awful. I mean that was probably the worst I've seen him play since the tournament last year when he really struggled in the game. But he still put up like 16 points. This time it was just bad. It was just all around bad. If they have any chance of beating Duke, it's going to be the way he plays and how the transfer Trey Townsend from Oakland plays, guarding either. I assume he's going to guard Cooper Flag
Mhm.
because they're both at the four. So I mean, that's really what it's going to come down to. But if Duke plays anything like they did against Kentucky, I don't see how Arizona beats them. I just don't see it.
Yeah. I think Arizona. I think Arizona was overrated here.
Yeah,
I think coming into the season, they're a good team. They're a very good team, but I think that they were just a little bit overrated. People were a little bit too high on them. And that's given why they lost to Wisconsin. I think Duke, if you're in a revenge spot, right? Both teams are in revenge, right? You just lost to somebody that you both teams thought they would beat. Now that you were favored to beat, right? Now you're
Yep.
coming in and you face off against each other. I think that this is a game where you put those circumstances on one team, and I'm taking with that team, whichever one it is, whether it's Arizona or Duke. You don't put those circumstances on either team. I'm taking Duke. You put them on both teams. I'm also taking Duke. So I
Yeah.
think Duke wins the game, but I do think I mean, it's at Arizona. Who knows? Maybe Love comes out and drops 35. He can
Yep.
do it. We've seen him do it
I
before.
wouldn't be surprised if he did either.
No. So, I mean, he's talented enough to do it, but man, this is going to be an absolute hell of a week again. And this has been another episode of the Sports Geeks podcast on college basketball here. We have one weekly coming out. We also have starting soon, probably right after Thanksgiving. We're going to start hitting the conference predictions hard. The
Get
Big
ready
Ten
for next week.
predictions, Big Ten predictions, Big 12
Feast week.
predictions. Yeah.
Feast week next week. That's when you
Yes.
got games from noon all the way till midnight
Yes.
from
It
coast
is.
to coast,
Mhm.
even out in Hawaii.
Yeah.
This is like our tune up for conference championship week and March Madness. So we're getting
Oh yeah.
feast week, and here we go.
Oh yeah. You're damn right there. But other than that, though, this has been the Sports Geeks podcast. They play, we talk. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.
Thanks, guys.
3 seconds of midcourt. Jenkins gives it to Jenkins for the championship. Catches, puts up a three.